start our Kioptrix level 5. That would be our medium machine, and today we're gonna introduce you the vulnerability called Apache configuration files. So over here, I simply use Netscope to identify the IP address, which is showing over here. That was 109. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna look for the server side. Let's try to check. So we have a front end which is saying it works. So what I'm going to do, let's do an Unmatched Scan first of all. And IP address. So our main objective of this machine to crawl and identify the number of directories and the subnet mask. So side by side, what I'm going to do, perform a simple basic Ec-councial scan. If we can find some relevant data according to the server. So in this backend server, we can see it's an Apache server, which is your 2.2.21, and showing it's a free BSD. Over here, we can see some extensions which is running over there in the backend, which was Mode SSL 2.2.21. OpenSSL is also working in the backend, and over here we can see they are currently outdated. Apache 2.2.21 appears to be outdated, currently version exists, and we can see they have given some links that we can simply look for. The Mode SSL 2.8.7 and lower vulnerable buffer overflow attack may allow a remote shell on the server side. And we can see when we simply perform an Unmatched Scan, we can see there are port which is 22 over there is closed, 80 port which is showing free BSD, and there is an 88. So currently it works on the port 80, but let's try the port 8080. So it's over there, it's forbidden. You don't have the permission to access on this server. So we have only 3 ports, which has one of the port is closed over here, and in the Ec-councial it's still crawling, and we can see there is a Mode SSL which is vulnerable to remote overflow attack. And over here I can see that they have HTTP get method, which HTTP method which is saying that you can have a get head post option traced to be there. So this is a good technique that you can simply use to identify the server side requests. Or we can try the Buster if we can find some relevant data. I'm going to use web-v. Okay. Web-v, verbose, and IP address. Let's copy the URL. Let's paste it over here. Number of threads according to the server. Let's use the history. So over here we're going to perform a crawling part. So user share word list. Okay, so we're gonna see it over here. WFuzz, wallpaper, word list. So we're gonna use the Buster and we're gonna use a small one. Remove the recursive. PHP is okay, and let's start what we can find. So let it be in the backend side. Let's see what web identified. Web identified it's an HTTP. There's an HTTP server which is free BSD. It's okay, and some of the extension are running. Apache 2.2.21, OpenSSL 0.9.8. It's a web dev server. A PHP is running 3.8. And what else we have over here one by one? Okay, the Buster has been stopped. Connection timeout expression, the host did not accept that. Okay, you can see all the requests has been jumped. The server is blocking the client request, the buster scan. Because port 80 is just your you can say the front end, your server hosting, but 8080 is the connection. So we should understand what is the difference between a port 80 and 8080 over here. So we can see crack.php was not executable, so we can stop this one because there's no work of the buster. Apache version is running 2.2.21, more SSL this. And what do we have? We have FreeBSD. What is FreeBSD first of all? Let's talk about FreeBSD. FreeBSD is a free and open source Unix-like operating system descended from Berkeley software distribution, which is based on Research Unix. The first version of FreeBSD was released on the 1992. So it's also like a near Unix operating system. And there are lots of other things. What is FreeBSD used for? FreeBSD is designed to provide a robust and full-featured environment for application. It supports a wide variety of browsers, office suites, email readers, graphic programs. Okay, that's good. Is FreeBSD better than Linux? Yes, FreeBSD is faster than Linux. Linux is faster than FreeBSD. In general, many web applications feel faster. Okay, this is normal thing. So what do we have? We can see that we have only the web and the OpenSSL, which is PHP version 5.2.8. So what we can do? We can try to search PHP 5.3.8. And most of the things that we will see is our denial service attack. So over here you can see some of the websites. You can see PHP denial of service attack, multiple vulnerabilities, remote denial of service attack. You can try to read out all the things one by one. In the real scenario, we have to search all the things over here. So most of the cases, what will happen? We have to figure out what are the services are running. Perhaps it's a web page, but sometimes you can get the reveals some external URLs or the data in the backend of the source. So remember one thing: read each and every source code, because there might be some misconfiguration files or some unpatched URLs. For example, you can see they have given meta HTTP equivalent refresh, which they have given content type, and they have given URL, which is your pchart 2.1.3, and the file is index.php. So let's go to this line, let's copy this one, and let's paste it over here. So we have a proper, what is actually pchart first of all? We can see it's a chatting library, programming language PHP. Okay, it's a normal thing. Pchat is a PHP library that will help you to create anti-aliased charts of pictures directly from your browser. You can then display the result in the client browser sent by the mail, insert in the PDF. Okay, Pchat provides object-oriented coding syntax and fully in the new web. Okay, that's good. So over here, what we can do, this is a normal Pchat directory, and we can see they have given some big files over here, and just like areas, simple PHP codes over here. Let's see sendouts. What we can find over here. Delete folder. image map. So all the things is given over here one by one. So as a pen tester, as a security analyst, what we have to do, we have to search for the pchat, and the version was 2. Okay, the pchat 2.1.3. Let's see for if you can find any public exploit. This is module exploiter directory traversal attack. Okay, let's see what is this. This is a Metasploit auxiliaries part. Okay, let's try to find. Let's use a Metasploit over here. Let's search for search WeChat, and what we over here exploit multi HTTP zPanel information disclosure RCE. A zPanel for your remote unauthorized RCE, remote code execution part. What else we can find? Let's see. So let's look for exploit DB if we can find a relevant data over here. So let's use pchat. Pchat multiple vulnerabilities. Let's see what can happen. So over here they have given a summary. They have given PHP library pchat 2.3 by default contains an example folder where the application is vulnerable to directory traversal attack and cross-site scripting. Okay. It is possible that the custom-built production code contains similar program if the users of library was copied from the examples. The exploit author engaged the vendor before publicly disclosing the vulnerability. Okay, that's cool. But over here we can see directory traversal attack, and they have given example to the website name, to the index.php, and this they have put an action parameter, and they have given a view script. In the view script, they have given etc password. The directory traversal is executed with the web server privilege and leads to sensitive file disclosure, password site.config PHP or similar, access to the source code, hard-coded password or the high-impact sequences, depending on the web server configuration. This problem may be exist in the production code if the example's code was copied in the production environment. So let's try this parameter value. So we're gonna try with over here on the index page. Okay, it was an index also. There was index.php. So let's copy the entire line till the PHP. So index.php is a file type with the parameter which is action, and they have given a value view script, and over there in the view script there is also parameter value. It's also parameter, and they have put the value with the etc password. They have encoded the dot forward slash. These are the forward slashes which they encoded. So let's copy this one and let's see what we can do over here. Yes. So over here we can see that this server, this specific server is vulnerable to LFI vulnerability, directory traversal attack. A directory traversal attack where an attacker simply fetch the files from the binary codes. So over here we can see root, tor, daemon, operator, pin, TTY, Ken, games, and these are all the users over here. For let's see the last ones, which is your OSAC, OSIM, and OCR. So they have given all the users one by one. So over here we got the directory traversal attack. So what we can do in the directory traversal attack, we can look for lots of other directories. For example, we can look for some of the etc directory or the bad directory. But for the etc directory and bad directory, we should have the port number 8080 to be accessible. And this server was not allowing us to go. See, when we are writing port 8080, which are making a proper connection with the server, it's forbidden. No access on the server side. Basically, it's working on the port 80. So in this scenario, as we have to think out of the box. Sometimes we have to think out of the box. Why? Because the port 8080 is your Apache servers. So we're gonna try to fetch the Apache configuration files. For example, this is my Linux operating based system. So over here, what we can do, we can simply go to the home directory, and I'm gonna look a file over there, just like your computers. And you can see the etc. All the configuration files are on the etc directory, and you can see Apache. So if you look carefully, you will find some etc Apache configuration files on the server side. But over here, we have to simply make a proper description of the file. So in this scenario, what I'm going to do, it's a Debian base, but over here it's a free BSD. That the victim side is using a free BSD operating system. So what are we going to do? We have to look for the Apache's configuration proper file. So for that case, free BSD Apache configuration file. We can say location, yes. So over here you can see that in the FreeBSD, the main Apache HTTP server configuration files is installed as user local etc Apache 2, which is your 22 HTTP config file. So let's copy this one first of all. So it's a 22 first of all, and it's an Apache configuration file. Let's try if we can simply access their error logs. That would be your in var logs directory, and there would be a file of error logs. HTTP Apache something error logs will be there. Okay, it's a Debian base. Let's try on the Google. FreeBSD, you can say HTTP error log location. FreeBSD Apache error logs location is your var log HTTP error. In error logs, we can identify the number of directory or the number of histories. So you can find all the things one by one over here. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna do dot logs. There's a file. Full name is dot logs. Error dot logs. So let's try if we can fetch this file on the server side. So it was on here etc. Let's try, and it's a file over here we're gonna fetch, and over here we can see all the client server error logs over here. In error logs, it contains all the client and server, you can say logs, which is my 192.168.0.110. That was my IP address. And what I was doing, I was simply looking for the files on the each and every directories, but it was server side was denying my request. And you can see one by one all the things given. File doesn't exist. User local Apache server. So let's try with the configuration files. Let's see what we can find on the configuration files on server side or the Apache environment. So let's see, and over here we can access the file which is your Apache environment, and through this file we can reveal what actually the Apache server is running over there. So for this case, what I'm going to do, this is all about your Apache HTTP server configuration files. Let's go down. It's a load module. Okay, we can see all the things one by one. Main server configuration files. User local www Apache 22 data, which is your document. So let's move on. See this data. Set environment user agent if the user agent is using Mozilla's Mozilla 4.0 or browser. It will virtual the host of port 8080. User local www Apache data. So over here they're saying the user should use a Mozilla environment version which should be 4.0. So what we can do over here, it's saying it has a set environment. A set environment where it's all can be worked one by one. So our major objective would be to simply change the exact server. So what I'm going to do over here, we're going to try to change our environment variables to get the access on the server side. And that would be our 4.0. So for that case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to install add-on. Okay, let's install an add-on. And that would be my agent switcher. Your switch agent. Yes, we can use this one. Use the user agent switcher manager. Why I'm going to use this one? Because we're going to change the environment variables. See this one over here. You can select your environment set. So I'm going to use Mozilla 4. They are using my basically I'm using Mozilla 5. So I'm going to change this one 5 to 4. Why? According to the data as per the environment variables to access the 8080 port. Let's use apply. Can we access port 8080 now? Yes, now we can access the port 8080 because the environment variables hasn't changed to 4.0 as per the data which is given over here. Before that, we are not able to we are not able to have access on the PHP server. So over here, you can say in the index.php there was a file of PHP text. Now we have another application which is your PHP text. Before attacking phase, get the information. All I can see is attacks, attacks, attacks. So remember one thing, when you're doing some information gathering, try to look for. They have given the Metasploit also. You can see this module exploit is vulnerability found in PHP text and income tax report generator. When generating a PDF in the icon function, it's drawing image.php. It does not properly handle the p file execution parameter, which will be used in the unexecution statement and then result the arbitrary remote code execution under the content of the web server. So we can see over here they have given all the things one by one. Or you can simply use your Metasploit. For example, they have given the Metasploit that we can use. Let's try the Metasploit over here. So search PHP text, and we over here we have a signal. So let's use PHP text. Now let's see options. So over here we have to set the IP address. That would be my 192. Oh, sorry, 109. And the port number. Set the port number also. That was our port. That was port 8080. The SSL. Okay, it's make it false, and the target URI will be your PHP. Let's see the options again. So we have the IP address of the server. We have the port 8080. And the last thing that I'm going to do over here is exploit. And over here I can see a command shell. But before that, check how it's working. Start this reverse TCP double handler on 192.168.0.10.104.104. Sending a request, accepted the first client connection, second client connection. Echo command, they have creating a file on the server side, adding a socket. Then you can see it's matching server, and bang, we have on the command line. Let's write who am I. So over here we can see we are www on the server side. Where we are on the user local www Apache 22 data PHP. Okay, let's go to our post exploitation phase. For that, we're going to use got milk. and pair. So first of all, I'm going to take the TTY, which is my Python server. So let's look which Python. Okay, I guess, do we have Python out there? Not Python. Okay, let's use bin bash -i. Not found. Okay, export term extern. Just working fine. So we are on the server side. Let's see what we can do over here. So we can see that these are all the directories on the server side. So for that case, what we're gonna do, we're gonna look for some basic vulnerabilities on the server side. For example, we're gonna look for the exploit over here. So over here, let's see uname -a. So over here, I can see this is a FreeBSD 9.0. Let's see cat etc asterisk release. There is no file of release version. We have only FreeBSD 9.0. So for that case, what I'm going to do, we're going to look for the vulnerability according to the FreeBSD if we can find something relevant data. So over here, we're going to look for the data. FreeBSD 9.0 exploit. Okay, so there are lots of FreeBSD vulnerabilities over here. Let's see the first one. We're saying initial system set kernel exploitation part. Let's see this one. This exploit based on the open source project. I can feel it's an open source too, right? If you're blaming, oh, this is a C program. Okay, let's have a look. Let's download this exploit. So I'll move this one on my exploits folder. So we have a simple C file, but first of all, let's see. Do we have GCC over there? CD temp. So let's see which GCC. Yes, over here we have GCC on server side. So this machine, we're gonna try the privilege escalation part. So in this machine, I guess we have the kernel exploitation part. Kernel exploitation are the program that leverage the kernel vulnerabilities in order to execute arbitrary code, which evaluated permissions. Successful kernel exploit typically give attackers super user access to the target system in the form of the root command. In many cases, escalating a root on a Linux system is as simple as the downloading a kernel exploit to the target machine, compiling the exploit, and then get executed. You can see what are the tricks. There can be assumptions can be done over there. Assuming that we can run code on the privileged user, this is the generic overflow of the kernel exploit. Trick the kernel into running the payload in kernel mode, manipulate the kernel data, and launch the shell with new privileges and get code. And what does it make vulnerable? Consider that a kernel exploit attack is success and adversary requires 4 conditions: a vulnerable kernel, a matching exploit, the ability to transfer the exploit into the target machine, and the ability to execute the exploit on the target. The easiest way to defend against kernel exploitation is to keep the kernel patched and updated. You can see. Last thing we have to do is to mitigate the things. In the absence of the patches, administrator can strongly influence the ability of transfer and execute the exploit on the target. Give this consideration, kernel exploit attackers are no longer visible to the attacker can prevent the introduction and no execution exploit on the Linux file system. Therefore, administrator should focus on the restricting of removing programs that enable the file transfers as such your FTP, TFTP, SSH, and weaker encoding. These programs are required for this. You can see all the things is given over here. They have given the infamous dirty cow exploit, which works on the version 3.19. Exploiting a vulnerable match by dirty cow. Who am I tells the current user who uname -a gives the kernel version which may nodes to vulnerable. This is a proper attack that have given. There's a lots of different local privilege escalation exploits publicly available for the different of the OS. See, we can use the search exploit. Whether you can get a root access on a Linux host, a kernel exploit depends upon whether the kernel is vulnerable or not. The Kali Linux has a local copy of exploit DB, which may easier to search for the local root exploits. See over here. Search exploit, it will show you all the vulnerable exploitation part. You can also look over here in your search exploit. See. 28718C, or you can say map trace local privilege escalation part. All you have to do is for search for the relevant data, or either you can look for the exploit DB, or you can try to get all the data from your local server. So what are we going to do? We have that the server has a GCC compiler. So in this scenario, I'm going to use a Python server over here. So Python -m simple HTTP server, which works on the port 8000. So let's create a URL, a basic URL, file transfer URL. So what will be the URL if I'm making a FTP server? So my URL would be HTTP, the IP address on my server, 110, and the port 8000 was running. On the 8000, the file name 28718.c. No. So over here, pwd, we are on the temp directory. Yes, we are on the temp directory. So ls-all. I'm going to use wget command to fetch the file. Wget not found. So let's look. Free bsd wget command, alternative command. Previous manual pages, what we can see over here. It's a free utility, normal thing. FreeBSD fetch additionally to curl and duplicate. Fetch. Some FreeBSD embedded systems, example PFSense, FreeNS, and don't have curl and duplicate installed by default. But fetch, it's possible to add as it well. We don't need to get airport support. So we gonna use sorry, check the menu corresponding. They're saying we can use a fetch command on the FreeBSD part. So let's use fetch over here. So use fetch Let's see. And I guess the file has been downloaded. Yes, the file is downloaded over there. So let's use clear. Let's happen all. So over here, this is your C program. So as per I know that we're gonna use GCC. So I'm gonna use GCC -o. We're gonna put an output, and the output will be an exploit, and the file name that will be 28718.c. Let's see. Yes, it's a proper compiled file on the server side. Okay, so let's use this one. So let's use exploit and see what happened. Start engine, codes, and go. Okay, let's see what happened. Where am I? Okay, cool. So who am I, first of all? And I can see we are getting a full privileged user of user root. We can see a congrats.txt file, cat, and over here we have a proper. If you're reading this, it means you got the root or cheated. Hope you enjoyed this VM of mine. As always, they are made by beginner in the mind, but not the mean to be seen ancestor. This is not the mean that cannot be enjoyed. So this was all about your Kioptrix level of machines that we have done till yet. Level 1, level 2, level 3, 4 and 5. This was the 5th level in Kioptrix. You can see the user loan it. You can see they have given feel free to explore the system and other log files to see how noisy or silent you were. So it was all about your log analysis. You can see the folder monitor file is just a cheap script of mine to track, created, deleted, and modify the files in the two specific folder. So they have said you can simply check the full path of the noisy. So what I'm going to do, let's see, cd where I can see cd logs over there, and over here you can see all the files over there one by one. So you can see HTTP access logs, HTTP error logs. Let's see the access log. So there were lots of logs over there on the server side, and I can see 110. That was my IP address. We can see all the things over here one by one. So access log, or we can say clear the tracks, are the important part when you're doing a pen testing on the web application part. There are many other techniques that we can be followed over here one by one, but it's all about the information gathering part. So either you can use your search exploits or your number of informations. There are many other techniques that we can use it, not the Metasploit. There are many other things. This was all about practice.